So today I want to have a bit of a different conversation with you all, and this is about the state of airsoft in 2021 going into 2022. There's a lot of things going on, and if you guys and gals didn't know, I live in Asia. I live in Taipei, Taiwan, and I have a unique perspective on this industry. I get to see kind of where most, or I'd say almost all of airsoft is made between here, the country I live in, Japan, Hong Kong, and then across the water over there into China. There's still a little bit left there. So I wanted to cover some things that are trends that are happening because of this global pandemic, what's happening with global trade, and what we're seeing in this airsoft shortage. I hate to go as far as say crisis, but there is a lot going on, and I think we're going to be seeing this stick with us for quite a while. So let me dive on in. There's 4 major categories that are impacting airsoft as a whole as a business, meaning the ability to get you new product, whether it's developing new items, getting store stocked, or just keeping prices to where they were pre-2020. I think a lot of things are gonna be with us for a long time, if not permanent. So let's dive on in. We'll start with topic number 1, and we're gonna move through. By the way, if you are the first time here, I would love to have you as part of the Airsoft family. Hit the sub button, or if you already have done that, hit the notification bell. Also, I do have a web store, link up in the corner, have some really cool morale patches you can check out and support the channel and get some cool swag in return. All right, so now let's dive on into it. First off, it's the supply chain. So if you didn't know how airsoft works or manufacturing works, some people just think products just magically appear, and some of you might actually work in a manufacturing environment, so you're very well aware. Everything starts with, of course, the design, but then it becomes raw materials. We start with looking at things like steel, aluminum alloy, and billet. So those are 3 typically of the major pieces that make up an airsoft gun. There are some other things too, electronics, and we're gonna talk about IC. So what's happening now is there's a raw material shortage, meaning that when you want to place an order, meaning I'm a manufacturer, I'm a big company, I wanna make 3,000 airsoft products, right? So I need to be able to forecast the raw materials, like this kind of alloy, this kind of aluminum, this kind of steel. You need to place that order. Well, there's a huge shortage in that, and that shortage is from some other things, and we're gonna talk about one of those reasons a little bit later on in the shipping challenges. There's actually challenges with shipping as well, with containers. So there's a steel shortage, or at least just the ability to get steel because it's being used for other things. All the raw materials, whether it's plastics, metals, all those things are being fought over by all the companies that are making their products. And Taiwan in particular here has been doing extremely well during this time. In fact, most companies here are just booming. The economy's growing, and fortunately for us, we haven't been locked down here. We've been able to move around, wear your masks, go out in public, so it's been business as usual. There are no cases in the wild. They're all contained. They're all imported cases that are in quarantine, but at the same time, it's caused this massive shortage in raw materials. Now, that also moves into number 2, labor. Because of this big boom, typically labor is domestic or imported labor. A lot of the labor here is brought in from other countries, especially in the factory and skilled labor set of the workforce. And the problem there is because of this issue, Philippines, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, which is typically where a lot of the immigrant workers that come here to work in the factory, the skilled labor work or healthcare helpers, you come from. Well, because of COVID, because of this issue, there's a challenge with bringing those talented skilled workers here to do the work. And then with the labor also becomes the process, the steps along the way in the manufacturing, whether it be powder coating, machining, CNC, molds. Most of these things are extruded, meaning they squeeze out kind of this long tube that's kind of the pre-shape and then is cut the rest of the way in with CNC, let's say. Or let's say we're gonna have something that's high-end that's all CNC, and even welding. Each of those steps are seeing such demand that they are all being delayed. Some of these are 3 or 4 months for one step in the process. So where an airsoft product maybe in the past took 3 months from start to finish to make, is now taking 6 or 9 months or even longer to get through the process because of each of the individual delays along the way because of that high demand. Then you look at countries like, let's say, the city of Hong Kong, or you look at mainland China, different issues there because Hong Kong, the cost is so expensive and it's continuing to go up. It's very difficult to make airsoft products competitive there and keep those prices down. A lot of those Hong Kong companies have actually come here to Taiwan. They've moved a part of their factory or even sometimes all of it here to do the production here because the costs in Hong Kong are so high. And then when you look at mainland China, you actually have to have a special license to manufacture airsoft, and there's only a few of those out there. So there's only a few small little pockets that can make products in mainland China, and there's really not an opportunity to put new ones into play. Next up, exchange rate. Now this is something else people aren't thinking of. The exchange rate right now is favorable if you're on this side of the pond, but not favorable for most of the Western countries, especially when you look at the euro, the pound, and the US dollar. And what's happened now is with the exchange rate, the US dollar is weak in comparison here in 2021, that we've seen at one point a 10% drop in the US dollar against like the Taiwan dollar or even the RMB or even the Hong Kong dollar, again, where all the countries where airsofts produce, and even the Japanese yen in some cases too, because there's still some products there, but Japan doesn't really export too much to the West. They're usually kind of self-contained or export into Asia. We're talking about more of moving your products out of Asia into the West. So with that exchange rate, currently right now, I think it's around 7% roughly. That means a 7 to 10% loss in profits for companies because of this. What you originally priced something out, now it's 7 to 10% less. And when you look at manufacturing, that's a large share of your margin, like a huge chunk. And if you look at wholesale, that's, oh golly, that's like half of your margins in some cases. Because in airsoft, the wholesale industry is not that great. In most industries, you're looking at 50% margins for retail and about 30 to 35% for wholesale. But in airsoft, we see about 30% at retail for your margins. And then we're seeing like 10, 15, or maybe if you're lucky 20, but probably in that close to that 15 to 20 mark for wholesale margins. It's not a wildly profitable industry as other industries are. And that's just been over the years, the margins have thinned out and companies are having to recorrect now. But let's look at a bigger picture here, actually moving containers. Containers, meaning full of products, leave Asia on a daily basis by the hundreds of ships and they head to the West. When they get there, they get to their locations, the containers go to their final destinations, get unpacked with freight forwarders and freight companies and all of this stuff, right? That's how the world commerce works. Well, normally when the products leave Asia, meaning all these airsoft products, we'll talk about that specifically, and of course everything else that's made here in Asia, which is the lion's share of the products of the world, they head to the West and those containers are filled back up with other products and trade comes back. It's this back and forth, and these shipping companies have this amazing dance, this choreographed dance that they do of all these containers constantly shifting and moving around the globe. Well, right now in the pandemic, the issue is something larger. We're looking at a problem where the containers are leaving Asia because people are buying consumer goods at a record rate, yet they're not exporting products back because in, let's say, the West, the US, most of the country's still closed or limited or locked down, manufacturing is low, people really can't make it back to work, or if it is, it's in limited capacity. Most of the EU is still locked down. You look at some other countries, you look at South and Central America, locked down for the most part. That means that as commerce leaves Asia, those containers go out, but very few return. And it's not profitable to ship an empty container back. So what's happening is getting a container here in Asia to get your product out has become a very huge challenge. Just getting the metal box. You know, these things you see that are on the back of semi trucks or the back of trains and also end up on those huge cargo ships, those intermodal containers, just getting the physical container is difficult. So what's happened is now shipping costs have gone up 1 or 2 or even 3 times what they used to be even 6 months or 12 months ago. They're triple at this point in some cases to move the exact same number of products. And what does that mean? Well, if you're gonna fill up a container or part of a container, that means that now it costs you 3 times more to ship, and that's going to add to that final cost of the item. be patient. You're gonna see this as a trend. You're gonna see some prices move up, probably in the 7 to 10% range, maybe even up to 15% across the board as things continue. Also, this is something that's going to continue over the next few years for the supply chain to right itself and everything to be kind of balanced back out. And that's hoping the world economy stays rather strong on the back end of this huge pandemic and we don't see a recession or worse in some places, which could really change some things. I don't want to be negative, but I'm just trying to tell you why we're seeing a huge airsoft shortage. I mean, look at your favorite online retailer and you'll see that a lot of products are out of stock. Also, my fear, as I'm gonna kind of leave you with this, is your local shops. Online retailers right now are doing unbelievably good. Everyone I've talked to, all these online retailers are crushing it. If you are a big online retailer, you are just printing money. You cannot get product fast enough. It comes in, as soon as it comes up, it's sold, essentially. I mean, everything is selling instantly. The problem is the smaller shops are not open in some cases because of restrictions, or they're having trouble getting their share of the products. And I'm worried about our hobby with these smaller shops that are out there to see if they can actually get a hold of products. And again, I want us all to survive. I want everything to do, and I really hope everybody on the back end comes out good on this, but I want you all to understand what's going on in the industry. If you've been looking for product XYZ and you've been wondering why a new product released and you can't find it immediately, it's like sold out everywhere. Wow, well, maybe they were only able to make a few hundred instead of a few thousand because of the material shortage, but they still wanted to get that out. So I wanna know your thoughts and perspectives on this issue. Do you have any input? And do you work at a shop maybe? Do you work in industry? Do you kind of see this? Do you work in the shipping industry? Do you have a perspective? Or do you think it's okay that, you know, prices are moving up because of this? And do you think they're gonna balance back out? I'd love to have this conversation down in the comment section below. And again, if you're not a subscriber here, I'd love to have you on board in the Airsoftology family. I do Q&A videos and product reviews every single week. Don't forget to check out the web store. The link would have popped up. I also have it as one of the first links down in the description box below. Check out the store, it's patchfiend.com. Also, if you have any questions or topics you'd like for me to answer, put them down below in the comment section. I would love to go through those and answer them on the next Q&A video. But until next time, go out, play some airsoft, have some fun, but no matter what you do, call your freaking hits.